Hi everyone, my name is Kristel and I am recording this video from snowy Estonia today. You heard it right, it's snowing outside and I'm from Estonia. If you haven't heard about Estonia before, then it's a tiny country in Europe with about 1.3 million people. And what makes us unique is that we have the most startup companies per capita. So a lot of companies get started here in Estonia, and some of the most recognizable ones are probably Skype, Wise, and Pipedrive. But I'm not here today to tell you about the startup scene and the startup environments and the tech sector overall in Europe, but I'm here because I have about 13 years of experience in the software testing industry. I started out as a software tester. I made it here by accident. And eventually I became an entrepreneur because I faced a lot of challenges as a software tester. And throughout this period of transitioning from software tester to an entrepreneur, I learned that if we have a bigger sense of meaning and we have a purpose in our lives, we can make everything better around us. We can make the world the better place. And if we as software testers can define our purpose within testing, then it just makes everything better. And that's what I'm here to talk to you about today. Testing with purpose, and how these stories of people, how values that we align with, and how kindness to each other can help make testing and the world a better place. And to illustrate my today's keynote, I also have a presentation that I'd like to share with you. But before I share this, I also wanted to say that this virtual presentation is a new experience for me as well. But and if you have like any feedback to me about purposeful testing, then please do let me know. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn. You can email me. I am all ears on hearing your feedback, because purposeful work and finding companies that are aligned with values and who have defined their bigger purpose have turned out to be quite a controversial topic within my software testing circles. So I'm eager to hear your feedback as well. But today I am all about sharing my experience. I am sharing stories of inspiration. First of all, I'm obviously going to share you the story how I found my purpose. I'm going to share you the stories of people who have been inspiring me. And lastly, we're obviously going to talk about the key kind of elements of purposeful testing and how you can find purpose in your daily jobs as well as software testing professionals. So I'll hope you enjoy it. Hopefully everything works as expected, but like we all know, as testers, we kind of make these issues just appear. All right, hopefully everybody sees that. Let's go full screen. All right, so now I'd like us all to close our eyes for a moment. And now envision this. You wake up in the morning, ready for a new day of work. And you're not just going to work because you have to. You're not just testing software because it's your job. You wake up feeling excited, passionate, fired up because you have a greater purpose that goes beyond just doing your job or just finding bugs. Now open your eyes. Finding our purpose starts with doing a lot of self-reflection. And there are two questions that I'd like you to ask yourself today. The first one is, why are you here today? Why did you choose this career? What makes you get up in the morning to do what you do? And the second question is, what is the most meaningful part of your job? Think about your work, think about your daily activities. As software testers, our daily responsibilities can go from collaborating with our teams, talking with our customers, executing tests, or writing issue reports. Like, there's so many different tasks, but there are definitely things that kind of fire you up and make you feel very, very excited. So try to figure out, like, what are the most meaningful parts of your jobs. Reflecting on the most meaningful part of your jobs can help you identify those core values, and it can really guide you to your purpose. And it can also increase your overall job satisfaction. So if you find your purpose, then it can make you happier. I also know that our work can be sometimes challenging, and there are things that we don't feel comfortable with. There are things that we don't like doing so much. But I've learned over those years of being in the software testing industry is that if we define our purpose, whether it's in our lives or in our jobs, is that if we have our why to live, we can bear with almost any how, because our why is our purpose. And then if we're able to define that, it becomes more than just a job. It becomes a mission, and it gives us a sense of belonging, and it provides us with a lot of fulfillment. So one of the reasons why we need to talk about purposeful testing and finding that purpose in testing is that we face a lot of adversity, a lot of challenges, but that purpose helps us, is like our guiding light through these more challenging periods. So now that we talked about why doing self-reflection is important and how it helps us to define our purpose and how this purpose helps us to go through these more challenging periods in our lives, let's take one more step back and look at our jobs again. I feel that as testers, even if our jobs sometimes might feel like we're undervalued or it's just thankless, I want you to all understand that every single one of you has an opportunity to make a difference. If we come together as a team, as people who are driven by the same purpose, who are aligned with our values, then we can make a huge difference. The outcome of these little tiny activities that we do on a daily basis, from executing tests to writing issue reports, it actually impacts the lives of so many people, not just only your team, your colleagues, but it also impacts the lives of these customers that your software helps to serve. And today I want to share you this story, how I found my purpose through testing. But before we dive into my story and these inspirational kind of aspects of these people that have inspired me, here I want to give you another example, what it means to have a purpose. So let's say I have 3 testers sitting with me here right now. 3 testers, they all have the same job descriptions, and I am asking them one question. They all work at WhatsApp. They all have the same job descriptions, same responsibilities, and I ask them one question. What do you do? The first one says, I find bugs in WhatsApp. The second one says, I make sure that the quality of WhatsApp is great. The last tester says, I help to make sure that people can connect with each other around the globe. The first one has a job, the second one has a career, and the third tester has a calling, because she truly understands how her work impacts the lives of billions of people around the globe. These companies make an impact because a lot of people decide to come together and work towards that one purpose, that one single purpose, which is the true north for these companies. All right, now let's dig into some of those stories today. So a little bit about me, how I found my purpose through testing is that I grew up in a tiny town in Estonia with about 5,000 people. Up until I graduated high school, I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. Tech sector was probably the last option that I could think about, but eventually I went to study programming because I have an older sister who has been a big inspiration for me throughout the years. And she was working in tech, and she told me about all the kind of opportunities and possibilities in the tech sector. So in 2008, I went to study programming in a local university. During my second year in university, I started looking for a job, and a lot of my classmates were telling me about software testing. And to me, that sounded like a very appealing option because I didn't felt comfortable enough yet as a programmer. So I decided to pursue this job as a software tester. And then I joined my first company, and some of you might feel very familiar with this situation, but I went to work for this tiny little company in Estonia that developed different web applications. And eventually I went to work for them, and my sole responsibility at this company was to find bugs. I was 20 years old at the time, and I couldn't think about the bigger picture, or I couldn't think about the like how should I prioritize my work. My sole purpose was to just find bugs in the software that I was testing. Then from there on, I moved on to a little bit bigger company where I got myself a mentor and who told me about all the different aspects and opportunities within the software testing industry. And I realized that it's actually super complex. It's very challenging. It has a lot of career opportunities. And eventually I decided that I want to pursue my career in software testing as a software tester. So in 2011, when I graduated university in Estonia, I decided that, first of all, I want to build a full-time career in software testing. And I also knew that living in Estonia got quite comfortable. Like I had everything that I had ever dreamed of. I had a home, stable income, and I just felt that that couldn't be it in my life. So I went to live in London with my then boyfriend, now husband, Marco. And I continued my full-time career as a software tester in a local fintech company. And I just loved the fact that as a tester, I had an opportunity to go from different industries and still do a great job. And then at my full-time job in London, I started looking for, as I was just so passionate about this industry overall, I started looking for additional opportunities to improve myself as a software tester. So I started reaching out to different industry experts. I tweeted at James Bach, for example, and asked him when he was about to come to London. And we went out for dinner. It was awesome. He was a big inspiration for me. I went to different meetups, different conferences. And also that was the first time when I first heard about different crowd testing platforms. And I just loved the idea of crowdsourced testing because I realized that as testers, we could have an opportunity to learn from testers and experts around the world, and also provide a lot of feedback for these companies who wanted to become global. And then after a couple of months working on these different crowd testing platforms, I just became extremely frustrated about about the way I was treated on these crowd testing platforms. And one of the main kind of challenges on these platforms was that testers were paid per issues. So it meant that quantity was valued over quality, and testers got compensated by the number of issues they were able to report. So that type of a business model generated a lot of competition between the testers, and therefore everybody started competing with each other, and there was no teamwork. But in my mind, I had developed a mindset by that time that quality is everybody's responsibility. If we want to make an impact, if we want to really deliver great software to the world, we have to work together as a team. And while I was working on these different crowd testing platforms, I just realized that these platforms were not valuing testers according to their input. So I started looking for additional, like other opportunities, and I realized that there are no platforms in the market that would solve my problems as a tester. So I kind of decided to start my company. So I started my own company called Testlio, and I went to a hackathon first. That happened in London, and eventually I got the $25,000 investment from investors in Silicon Valley, and that made me to pursue Testlio full time. And that's where I had a so strong sense of purpose. I had developed a strong sense of purpose, and my purpose was to make sure that testers around the world can feel like they have an impact, like they can feel that they're valued and appreciated within the software testing community. And so that became my bread and butter. And today, Testlio is a global company. We are about 200 people. We are a fully remote company, so we have people from more than 40 countries. We have more than 10,000 testers around the globe. So throughout my career, I have talked to a lot of testers, and I've learned about their ways of working, what drives them, what's their passion, what makes them excited about testing. And yeah, that's kind of the snapshot of where Testlio is today. And I'm just very excited and very grateful for this opportunity so far. And so now I feel like it's important for you to also not only hear about my story, but hear a couple of stories from people that have inspired me in the past. So one of the first people that came to my mind is Leila Chana, an entrepreneur who turned adversity into opportunity. She unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago, but her entire life mission was to bring jobs to low-income areas. Her entire statement was that talent is equally distributed, opportunity is not. So she wanted to make jobs available in low-income areas. So she started these little shops in Ghana and Kenya, where people started doing very easy tasks like data entry jobs, for example. So she wrote also a book, Give Work, Reversing Poverty, One Job at a Time. So very, very inspiring person. And she was driven by a purpose. And she grew her company to hundreds of people. She had thousands of people working in this data entry houses in Kenya and Ghana. So a lot of people were driven by her purpose, and they took that purpose as their own. Another person is Malala, and some of you might have heard about her, but she's a Pakistani girl who got shot by the Taliban, and she turned that adversity into a weapon. And she fights, she's a human rights advocate. She fights for girls' education around the world. She's a Nobel Prize winner, and her story is incredibly inspiring, and her story also inspires other people to take action and to define their true meaning in life, because these people have really, really inspired me as well. And then the last one is Arnold. So if you haven't seen his Netflix show, yet, then definitely worth a watch. But he grew up in Austria, in Thal, and he basically envisioned success for him. He's a great manifester, and he challenged himself physically and mentally. And he has said that the meaning of life is not simply to exist, to survive, but to move ahead, to go up, to achieve, to conquer. So challenges and taking up these challenges in his life were like, this is what he was all about. And he is incredibly inspiring as well, because he is a person with a lot of determination, and he has inspired millions of people around the globe. So these are some of the examples of very powerful people who have a great sense of purpose and who have been able to inspire other people to work with them and drive that purpose even further. So your work can have a deeper purpose. And when you connect with that purpose, it can transform not only your work, but also your life. Let that in. So it's not just about what we do, but about why we do it. That's why we have to think about these first questions that I asked. Why are you here today? What makes you excited about these things that you do? Like, our work as testers have a deeper purpose, and it's important for us all to realize the power of purpose. And to back up my passion for making you all understand how valuable and how impact your work is as a software tester, I am presenting you this data. 9 out of 10 people are willing to earn less money to do more meaningful work. This clearly indicates that people want to have a sense of belonging. They want to have a sense of, they want to feel fulfilled because of the things that they do in life. It can be anything. And in case of the context of our work in the software testing industry, we can define that on our own. We already have everything that we need to redefine how we work, what are the activities that we do, and how can we inspire other people to also take action. I also found this interesting research done on LinkedIn that people with a high sense of purpose are 64% more likely to love their jobs. So when we talk about job satisfaction in the context of purposeful testing, then if you find that purpose and if you connect to the stories of these people that your work impacts, then you will have a higher satisfaction at your job. And that's very, very meaningful, because if we think about how much time do we spend at work, then why spend it doing something that we don't love or where we don't feel connected? Think about that. So what sets purposeful testing apart from everything that you've ever heard about is the why behind our testing activities. Like, is our job all about finding bugs, or is it about improving user experience and ensuring the quality of the product and contributing to the success of our team and our organization? Like, let's take an example again. We are testing a health application. If your why is to ensure that users have a reliable tool to monitor their exercises and sleep, then every bug you find, every test case you write, every report you submit is contributing to that purpose. And in that case, you're not just a tester, you are the guardian of your users' well-being, because if they can use the app without any issues, they are much happier. They can exercise without worrying whether their data gets lost. So you can put things in a completely different perspective if you think about purposeful testing. And it's about finding meaning in our work. That's what purposeful testing is all about. And now let's look at why it's, again, important in today's environment that I briefly touched upon earlier and in my presentation, that comes down to the challenging work environment that we're in. So right now, like, the world is very chaotic, right? There's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of fear. There's people don't know what we are against upon. And we have a lot of pressure as well. Every company out there has more competitors. We have more pressure to deliver high quality software. If somebody doesn't like something, they will be very vocal about it. And so the pressure is immense. And in these certain challenging environments, it's very, and I think you can reflect upon your own experience as well, that sometimes it's very hard to think about that bigger picture if we are doing the daily work and we're grinding and we are executing tests and we're reporting those issues and we're trying to meet the deadline and we're trying to make everybody happy around us. Then it's very, very hard to feel that sense of purpose. But that's why purposeful testing is so important. Like, for example, at Testia, we have these little cards where we have written down our mission of the company, like what's our purpose of the company and why everything that everyone does here matters today. So at the end of the day, purposeful testing, I believe, can improve our performance. It makes us happier. And if we are motivated by a clear purpose, then we are focused and we are resilient to all these changes that are happening in this world today. So we're just better able to navigate all these changes. And today, I believe that so purposeful testing in today's world where we face a lot of uncertainty, I believe that it's not just a nice to have, but it's a must have. And it's the key to staying relevant, delivering value, and finding fulfillment. When we look at the job market in general, and when we look at the statistics that I just presented, people want to have a sense of belonging, that they want to feel like they can make a difference. And I hope that you all feel the same way, because if we want to make a difference, then we are going to make a difference. That's how it is. So now let's go through the pillars of purposeful testing. The first one is stories. Stories give our testing work context. So as we start talking about the stories, then, for example, if you think about your own working environment, you have colleagues that you love working with. You have customers who use your software. You have so many people that you're already impacting. Start learning their stories, start listening to their stories, understand why are they using your product, understand why have they joined the companies, what drives them, what makes them passionate about what they do. Like, start learning about the people that you're surrounded by. And these stories are very powerful reminders for us all that what we do makes an impact. I also have an example from Testlio itself. So Testlio, we have this social impact program called Testlio Ignite. And this is a scholarship-based program where each year we accept about 10 people into the program, and we teach them on how to become freelance software testers. So we give them the skills and the know-how and the mentorship throughout this program. And over the years, we've had so many people who have been through this program. But secondly, we have colleagues at Testlio who feel like, even if they are working at finance or doing operations and managing client projects on a daily basis, thanks to the work that they do, we can continue providing scholarship for people throughout the Testlio Ignite program. Like, we can do this program because of the work that they do at Testlio. So I hope that was clear enough. So that's the power of these stories, that we need to tell to each other how our work and how our lives are impacting each other. So now I have this funny example.
Done.
So while it's just a story, like a TikTok story, it is an illustration of the life of a software tester, but it does so much more than just showing the life of a software tester. It starts a conversation, and it started a conversation on TikTok, on LinkedIn, where people start to realize that there's a human behind every line of code. There's a human behind the software that they use on a daily basis, and we need to have more empathy and more kindness through each other. So these are the stories that connect to our purpose. So the second pillar of purposeful testing is values. Values guide our testing actions, decisions, and relationships. I remember so clearly how about 6 years ago, we just had some statements up on our office wall, but nobody really acted according to these values. Like we didn't talk about them, we didn't communicate them. And then about 5 years ago, we sat down with a team of about 15 people, and we started looking at our behavior. We started looking at our personalities, and we defined 6 core company values that are now driving every action that we take within the company. When we talk to our customers, when we talk to each other, for example, one of our values is be kind. So whenever we have when we have to give feedback to each other, we're always kind, and we're always trying to help each other to improve and get better as we go by. So values are incredibly important, and they just guide us on our daily lives. And I have like these core values of my company are also part of my life. And the last pillar of purposeful testing is kindness. Kindness is one gift anyone can give, and I think that kindness is one of the most underrated values in the tech sector. We have to approach testing with a lot of empathy, respect, and desire to provide value, not only to our customers, but also to each other. If you see that your colleague is struggling with something, maybe you can lend a helping hand and help them figure out like what is wrong and how can they overcome this particular challenge. Use kindness in purposeful testing as well, because this not only improves the quality of the product, but also fosters like a positive work culture and environment. So do it. And with that, I'd like to conclude my today's presentation and remind you all that while this presentation might be a lot to handle right now in today's environment where we face a lot of uncertainty and everything, everything starts with begins with a single step. You don't have to have it all in place immediately, but you can start by listening to your customers, listening to your colleagues, learning about their experiences, and really seeing yourself in this big picture. It's important. And lastly, we can conclude with a couple of action items. So to be able to apply purposeful testing in your own company or within your own work life, start with why. Start asking yourselves these questions like, what are the most meaningful parts of your job? What makes you happy? What ignites you? Do these things more so you will work towards the right purpose. You have to have values in your daily work. If you feel like you're unaligned with your team, it's going to be a big problem, because quality is everybody's responsibility, as I've said before. And we have to breathe the same values within our team so we can work collaboratively towards the same goals. Third one is just being kind. Be kind to each other. Help your colleagues when you see they're struggling with something. Create a culture where everyone steps in for each other. It gives us all a purpose as well. Then you have to just set purposeful goals instead of just talking about how many issues you need to find. Start talking about improving user experience or whatever it is for you. Just set purposeful goals. Start talking to your customers. If you are meeting a goal, if you're releasing a feature, start talking to your customers. Bring these stories back to your company and tell these stories to your colleagues. How did that feature make your customer more efficient, or how did it make this customer happier? Start sharing these stories. And then lastly, just communicate and reflect. As I said, purposeful testing starts with a lot of self-reflection. You have to start talking to yourself in terms of like, what makes you happy? Why are we here today? And you have to communicate yourself this honestly, openly, and then great things will happen. The future depends on what you do today. Don't worry about like trying to implement purposeful testing at your daily job from today, but there are little tiny steps that you can start taking back to your work life. Start talking to your colleagues, start learning more about the customers. How do you impact their lives? How do you make them more efficient or happy or whatever it is? Bring these stories to life and be curious about each other. And also don't forget about being kind to each other, because kindness really makes a difference and it can foster such a good working environment. And if people care about each other, then it's so much easier to work towards the same goal. And now, as you start applying purposeful testing to your work, start reflecting back on your work each week. How has your work changed? How do you feel about your role as a tester now compared to before? As I said, it's all about context. You already have everything in place to do purposeful testing. You just gotta find the right bits and pieces. So thank you all for listening. And I hope that my story of purposeful testing and the stories of people who have inspired me to look at purpose in a different level will help you to find that purpose in your day-to-day job as well. And if you have any questions, please do feel free to reach out to me either on LinkedIn. I am available on TikTok, whatever it is, just feel free to reach out. I'm eager to receive your feedback. I know that it's been controversial historically, but I do really believe that if we have a purpose in our daily jobs, it gives us a sense of belonging and it gives us that fulfilling that oftentimes we do lack of. So good luck and hope to hear from you soon. Bye.